Okay, a couple of vocabulary phrases. The first one is independent variable. You might recall that these were the x values.
Are you okay, Zach?
Yeah.
So I get an afro?
No. We also talked about it as a domain. Although actually, maybe it might be a good idea because it's winter's coming.
Yeah.
Yeah. So maybe. That means that our dependent values are generally our y values.
I think you should.
And you might have heard this phrase, they call that the range. So if we're looking at a graph, the domain would be this stuff right here, the horizontal axis, and the range would be the vertical axis. Just in case you forgot. And then in this investigation, the stuff that I asked you to try on your own for about 40 minutes, but we actually only spent about 30 because you guys are so fast. So they talk about a statement, and what they want you to understand is they want you to kind of get the fact that sometimes we have to interpret information. And oftentimes in math, this is kind of like almost being like a scientist and then using math to describe what's going on. So it was a dark and stormy night, and before the torrents of rain came, the bucket was empty. The rain subsided, that means kind of let off, at daybreak, and the bucket remained untouched throughout the morning until the dog, Frank, arrived, very thirsty. The sun was bright throughout the afternoon, and then Billy, the kid next door, arrived, and he noticed two plugs in the side of the bucket. One of them was about a quarter of the way up from the bottom, and the other one was almost at the bottom. And as fast as you could blink, he pulled out the plugs and ran away. So what we want to do is we want to look at the words that are key and different parts of the graph that we're going to be talking about. So as we go along here, what I'm going to try to do is we're going to try to look at making a graph that might make sense. So first of all, it says it was dark and stormy and the bucket was empty. So if we look at the bucket being empty, the bucket was empty. Then as I start out, what that means is in the very beginning, my bucket had no water in it. And then the torrents of rain came and then stopped at daybreak. So we're going to get a lot of rain. And then it stops at daybreak. So lots of rain. And then at daybreak it had subsided. The bucket was untouched through the morning. So the bucket was untouched through the morning. So that means for a while, nothing changed. And then, old dog Frank came and drank. So next, old dog Frank arrived. And he drank something, so something happened. And then the sun was shining, but obviously that's just evaporation. So when you evaporate, water goes out slower than maybe a dog drinking. So maybe the water is still decreasing, but maybe not as fast. Then Billy pulled a plug. So you pull out both the plugs. and said one was almost at the bottom. Oh my goodness, seriously. You can kind of see what's going on with the different parts of this graph. So here would be full. And then as we look at the different parts of the time, the bucket was empty before the torrents of rain came, and then the rain subsided at daybreak. So this is daybreak right here. And then Frank arrived thirsty as a dog, so that was when Frank showed up. And then the sun was shining, so this is when the sun shone. And then the rest of it, of course, is when the kid pulls out the plug. And this graph kind of tells the story of what's going on. And you could put times down here if you thought there were certain times that associated with that, and label it. So it's just kind of a way to understand that sometimes a story can represent a graph. You can get a visual of what's going on with the water in the bucket. Questions about any of that? Students at Central High School are complaining that the soda machine is frequently empty, and so several student council members decide to study this problem. They record the cans throughout the day and make a graph. So based on this graph that we see here, at what times are the sodas being drank the most? Like the most drastic changes.
Like 11:20 to 12:20.
Okay, so it looks like maybe right here, 11:20 to 12:20, is that what you said?
Yeah.
Okay, so maybe roughly 11:20 to 12:20 would be one situation. Are there any others?
3 to 4.
3 to 4. Let me just see what's going on over here. 3 to 4. So maybe those are the two, if you were to pick 2 times, 3 to 4. Those might be the 2 times where you're like, dang, fill up the soda machine. I want something. How about when is the soda machine being refilled?
7.
7 o'clock. So let's see what can we use here. 7 o'clock. So right here. Where else?
12 or 1. 12:30 to 1.
10:30 it looks like to me. Right here. This goes all the way up to the top. And I don't know that 11:30 also. It's hard to see on there for me. Looks like there are 3 places where it's full, because this is where it says full. So refilled means it's full. So it hits full here, it hits full here, it hits full here.
That's a 4:30.
So 4:30. So maybe 7. What was the second one? 10:30?
Yeah.
10:30 and 4:30. And that's because the graph hits the top.
Good morning.
Morning. Okay, so the times that where it was empty were at 3:30 and 12:30. These are the 2 times of concern for the student council. And the 3 suggestions are, number 1, don't drink pop. Number 2, maybe you get a bigger pop machine. Or if you're not going to do either of those, maybe refill
What about like 2 pop machines?
at 3:30 and 12:30. You could also get 2 pop machines. So there are lots of different solutions that you could do. I can tell you that here, years ago,